morning, Nigerians encourage corruption, says June first of the Punch newspaper.
David Mark says
Anonymous Nigerian Governors Forum calls for Okonjo Iweala's resignation.
says new PDP.
Page 2 of the Punch newspaper.
The dailies every day on Core TV News.
Thanks for staying with us this Friday on Core Digest. Let's run you quickly through the newspapers we have here: The Punch, The Nation, The Vanguard, as well as The Guardian newspaper. And I'm joined already by a legal practitioner and the public affairs analyst, LIBOUROUS OSHOMA. Good morning, and thank you for finding time to join us today.
Good morning. Always my pleasure.
We'll begin with The Punch. If you're ready, yes, indeed we are. The top story here says Jonathan renews efforts to woo Southwest voters. The writer, no going back on election dates, says President military. Buhari jets out, promises to declare assets publicly. That's on pages 3 and 8. Federal government to make degree minimum teaching qualification. That's on page 8 of The Punch. The front page picture shows a Cameroonian soldiers carrying a colleague wounded by Boko Haram fighters on Wednesday. And reps row over use of soldiers for polls. That's on page 3. Pension fund hits 4.6 trillion naira, page 29. And Boko Haram attacks Adamawa village kills 30, page 12. Let's start from a legal point of view. A recent judgment from the Court of Appeal seemed to put to rest finally what the opposition has called militarization of election. Given the precedences, do we see a situation whereby this verdict will be adhered strictly to in this general election?
It will be very difficult. You know why? Because of the attitude of our politicians in election. Our politicians see election as a do-or-die thing. And so, because of their attitude and the way they see the perceive election and this win-at-all-cost mentality, you know, you always create room for, you know, whoever is in charge to say, well, we had to protect the lives and properties of the citizens. And so, for that, we would, you know, try to ensure that we have military men in strategic places, not necessarily to conduct election, but to ensure that rules and regulations are complied with. Because also, if you remember the way we have rubbished our police. And so, you know, you hear allegations of police conniving with politicians to rig elections and all of that. And so it's always this back and forth thing. It will be very, very difficult for, even though the ruling party said they are appealing, because that was not the issue before the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal, you know, after dismissing the appeal, dwelt so much on the issue of militarization and the rest. And, you know, but my advice would be politicians need to change their attitude.
Well, you know, there's always been this perception of the fact that security agencies are always at the beck and call of the executive. This also came to light with the recent audio tape from Ekiti State. Whether military or police, aren't they all security agencies?
But yeah, they are all security agencies. That's why I'm telling you that the police have been rubbish, and so we are gradually dragging the military into it. But if you remember, in Edo, the military were used seriously, heavily. And the opposition won the election, and there was no cry. If you remember also, by 10 a.m. on the election, the Oshomole cried foul and said he was going to reject the outcome. And at the end of the day, he won the election, and he didn't reject it. In Anambra also, there was a heavy presence of military in that state on the day of election. And that's why, for me, it's been argument back and forth. There are some that says, look, we need them to protect the lives and properties. There are some that says, no, we don't need them. All you need is the police. Anyhow you look at it, the police are the beck and call of certain persons, same way the military are the beck and call of certain persons. That's why we need to change our attitude. And then also, I like what INEC is doing with the card readers. So, if our election is transparent and there is no room for rigging, then you won't need to militarize the process.
Are you not baffled that the authenticity of this Ekiti audio tape is not being debated by the PDP? Rather, they are saying that the content does not in any way reflect any insinuation to rig the Ekiti election.
It's very difficult to debate the authenticity. even though at the initial stage they had said that the audio tape was doctored, and then later we heard admissions here and there, and now the issue is no, it did not refer to rigging, but the fact remains that there was a meeting between some politicians and the general officer commanding. And why would there be a meeting between the general officer commanding and the politicians involved in the election, a day before the election? And if it's a meeting that would, if they went there to actually plead, why didn't they also invite other stakeholders so that this meeting will not be a secret meeting and a nocturnal meeting? It's like holding a secret meeting with a judge who is an umpire in your matter the day before the matter. And at the end of the day, the judgment favors you.
In a clip where you hear someone say, pick up Daramola, you hear another one says, you know that your promotion will pass through my table.
And then you say this is not about rigging. Why will you want to pick up Daramola? Why will you want to make the man happy? Why are you threatening the man with promotions and all of that? So it's only in Nigeria here that things like this happens, and then people try to rationalize.
Isn't this a reflection of probably the quality of moral value that Nigeria really has? Because in Ekiti, I was with our Ekiti state correspondent on the show yesterday, who says that obviously the Ekiti people are not even bulging as regards these vivid revelations.
Yeah, because if you look at that election, even after the election, the tapes aside now, even after the election, the APC members actually blamed the outgone governor for not being on ground also. To some extent, they blamed him. He had problems, with workers, had problems with the university, and he had problems with some politicians also who thought he was trying to play Lagos politics in Ekiti. And so some of these problems, to a large extent, affected the election.
I see.
But the issue of this meeting also cannot be ruled out. It's not something you can just sweep under the carpet for the fact that the Ekiti people are not budging. You need to investigate matters like this and ensure that if people that are found guilty are brought to book to serve as a deterrent. Like I said, it's like me holding a meeting with a judge in my matter, and then you expect him not to be biased.
I was with the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. He was here on the show, and we were discussing this matter. He seemed to be more interested about the moral implication than the legal possibilities of bringing the culprits to justice. But isn't it a case whereby I have something against you and you have something against me? Because you saw Femi Fani-Kayode in earlier clip showing some video that he claims also indicts the APC of rigging the Ekiti election.
That's why I said, when I say our politicians, I did not say the politicians in PDP or politicians in APC. And when you talk about morals and legal, it is a breakdown of the moral values that will lead to prosecution. And so when you close eye to this breakdown of moral values, and then there's no way you're going to have effective legal system, And so basically what we have now is a situation where people are saying, since there's a breakdown of moral value that warrants some people facing justice, there's no need for you to close your eyes to it. They all do it. That's why you find that also anywhere there is an election, a local government election in any state, the government in power at that state will sweep the poll, not because the people participated overwhelmingly, because they manipulated the process to suit their candidates.
Is the situation now where the best rigger wins the election?
Exactly. That's the word. The best rigger wins the election. They all rig elections.
Are you optimistic that things are going to change in this forthcoming general election?
No, not at all. Not at all. With what we are saying already, with some people saying, oh, the permanent voters card are not evenly distributed, and then also you now come with an excuse for for security reasons to postpone the election, knowing fully well that the issue of card reader cannot be sustained legally. And then with the drums of war we're hearing on both sides of the divide, you still think things are going to be, okay. And then some people already saying, when you're already almost very close to the game, some people say, no, look, the card readers that were supposed to be used, that had been discussed long before now, been approved generally, but with our behavior and the acceptance of the permanent voters card. Now somebody's saying no, the card readers have not been verified. What if
isn't
they
there any
failed and all
ray
of that?
of hope with the reactions we're getting? Of course, the professor was with the senators. He seemed to have convinced them as regards the use of the card readers. And then we're also looking at a situation whereby, indeed, the president and the service chiefs are saying that they are hopeful that security wouldn't be a reason for another extension.
When politicians talk, I take it with a pinch of salt.
I see.
Even when it is obvious that they were going to postpone elections, some people were still telling us that they were ready. If you remember, even before the postponement, the military had told us that they were fully ready for the election, and that the election we were going to hold in this region that we're talking about, only for them to write letters later to say that election could not hold. And so what changed? So when they talk now...
They've gone to Sambisa Forest. Isn't that matching words with action, really? It looks as if we are winning, obviously.
That it looks as if. It looks as if we are winning. But if you analyze the situation carefully and juxtapose it with all the statements that have been made where this crisis started. If you remember, even the Chibok girls issue, the military came out to tell us that all the girls had been located and returned back to Chibok. Only for the principal to say, no, that's not the true position of things. And the same military had told us that they were ready for the election, only for them later to say, no, they were not ready, that there's a new formation on ground and that they should be given 6 weeks. And so now it's very difficult for me to just swallow hook, line, and sinker, whatever they throw at me.
Let's move away from the Punch to find out what the top stories are today on the Nation newspaper. Polls will hold as scheduled, say Jonathan Abdusalami. Of course, LIBOUROUS OSHOMA says he doesn't believe what politicians say. I don't know what you believe this morning. But the writer here says there'll be no interim government. The front page picture also shows an armored personnel carrier stolen by Boko Haram insurgents. There's something amazing here. The armored personnel carrier, the APC now wrote in. I mean, the nation wrote APC in bracket. So APC is an armored personnel carrier. I think that was very deliberate. And then you have Air Force jets pound Sambisa Forest, Goza. Details of that you found on page 4 of the Nation. APC rally shootings, victims recount scary experience. Ex-head of state Odige Oyego, we are worried. Story on page 4 of the Nation. Tambuwa seeks advice on use of military for polls. APC alleges plot to use religion to divide Nigerians. Buhari in London to meet British leaders. And House deploys calls for use of TVCs to vote. We can't forget easily what happened at the Okrika, in Rivers State at the APC rally. Explosions and shootings. I mean, what also would have thought that in a state where we've witnessed political explosions, political bomb explosions, that the security agencies would have been more proactive in such sensitive areas?
Unfortunate, rather than being proactive and learning from our experience, what we see with our elections is that we hardly learn anything, and then you hear, at the end of the day, you hear accusations and counter-accusations. And rather than also improving our elections and our electioneering processes, what we see is that the politicians have improved, how to rig elections and how to muzzle out opposition and how to, cause mayhem more. That's what we hear these days, and not how to woo the people and how to appeal to superior arguments. You hear accusations, even in Ekiti. If you remember before the elections, there were killings, there were accusations and counter-accusations. And you still find these same people saying somebody's overheating the polity. How do you overheat? How do you not overheat the polity when you kill people because you want to lead them? Why kill me because you want to lead me? Just this morning I was discussing with my friend. I said, look, now it has happened. APC is blaming PDP. PDP is blaming APC. I told him, I said, you might never get to know the truth of this whole matter because our security operatives are not properly trained to be unbiased in matters like this. And that is why we have called for a situation where let's have an IG of police who will not be at the beck and call of the president. Let's have commissioners who will not be at the beck and call of the president or the governors. In the First Republic, even the native police were used by politicians to muzzle opposition. And now what we have graduated to a very sophisticated level.
How do you think we can achieve this independence that you're talking about?
The way we can achieve this independence, in the new constitution, you hear that there is the office of the Attorney General and the office of the Minister of Justice had been separated.
That's right.
Same with the office of the Accountant General of the Federation and the Accountant General of the government. When you begin to create a divorce between offices like this, the Chief Security Officer of the government should be different from the Chief Security Officer of the Federation. And so, when you have situations like that, and his tenure of office should be guaranteed and protected by law. Not a situation where the president has power to appoint and remove you at his beck and call. And so when you don't do his bidding, you are fired the next day or you are suspended. And so when you have situations like that, it will be difficult to ensure the independence of that office. And when that office is not independent, it will pander to the whims and caprices of whoever is in the kitchen at that time.
How do you juxtapose this with the call for state police? Because the idea of state police for many will be that, okay, the agencies are no longer under the federal government, but they are now with the state governors.
The people that have rejected state policing have reasonable justification for doing that. I just told you about the First Republic also. If you read some of Awolowo's book, said in 1959 when he took his campaigns around the Federation, and that some of his members were attacked in some areas, and in those areas that were within the jurisdiction of the native authorities, it was difficult for the federal policing to come in. And if the opposition were, these areas were the stronghold of opposition, you know, the matters were, it was difficult for them to get justice. And so some of these people still have this, you know, memories of what transpired, coupled with the desperation of our politicians. I just told you the way they use the state INEC. And then, if you are not talking about state policing also, people are saying, look, the way the federal government is using state police, the governors also will use it that way, except you have a governor who is not power drunk. Just imagine a situation like you currently have in River State. It will be a clash of state police and federal police. You need the institution to be independent and insulated from politicians, because the way we still play politics here, it's heavily questionable. So once you're able to insulate, even if you have state policing, which I believe should be, but you should try as much as you can to insulate the policing from the governors, so that at least they will enjoy a level of independence.
On whose shoulders now lie this responsibility? Isn't it the job of the National Assembly?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So when
are you surprised that these issues are not coming up in the ongoing
they will never come
up.
They will never come up, because what you have are the same set of politicians. That is why it is convenient for them to leave APC today and go to PDP tomorrow, leave PDP tomorrow and go to APC. They are the same set of politicians. We're talking about change. It should be all encompassing, including some of our National Assembly members who are not worthy of being called honorable members or senators. We should have a holistic change. And so, until we have that, we can now begin to say, you know, Nigeria of our dream. But as it is, since we can't have that, if we can have a small change that we can conveniently build on, let's have it. But to expect that, look, it will be El Dorado immediately after the election, I'll be deceiving myself.
Let's go to the Vanguard this morning. Allied attacks on terrorists. The big story here. Troops recapture Boko Haram training base. And then you have about 4 riders kill 117 terrorists, retake Dikwa local government in Borno. Many others killed as warplanes pound Zambisa. Nigeria cannot be defined by Boko Haram, says Jonathan. Says elections will hold in Northeast as scheduled. And then you have pictures of the warships. Mr. President yesterday in Lagos inaugurated 4 warships acquired by the Navy And you also have an insert picture there that shows the president testing one of the warships after inauguration. There will be no interim government, says Abubakar. APC, PDP, BIKA over religion-based campaigns. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard. CBN orders exporters to repatriate dollar earnings within 180 days. Page 8 of the Vanguard. 2015 elections, how to make Nigeria the winner. Dambazao, ex-army chief. Now let's look at the role of religion here. In 1993, the adjudged freest election ever conducted in Nigeria, we had a Muslim ticket. Way before the earlier scheduled February 14 election, there were issues of APC must not view the Muslim candidate. Would you say that this is a true reflection of the sentiments of the Nigerian people?
To a very large extent, that is true, because the Nigerian people, their psychic have been so bastardized that now if I meet you somewhere now, the next thing, depending on how you address me, I will ask you, are you a Christian or a Muslim? And once you say you're a Christian, I will ask you, which denomination? If we have the same denomination, I see you more as a brother than seeing you as a human being first and foremost, and as a Nigerian. And so you'll find that politicians understand this thinking now. And so when at election time like this, they play on that psychic. Forgetting that the Nigerian people forget that these same politicians at night, they meet, they wine and dine, they drink together, they eat together, they laugh at us. But when they have crisis like this, it is easy for them to look for those lines that divide us and throw them in the public discourse, and then we begin to debate it. Also, I've never seen a man who says, oh, he is a Muslim, and because he's a Muslim, or I've never seen a man who says, because that man is a Muslim, that is why he's bad. Or because this man is a Christian, that is why he's good. It's across both religion. As I'm here now, I'm a Christian, but I can recite the Fatiha perfectly. And some part of the Quran, because that is how we're brought up. We're brought up to see, human beings as, look, irrespective of our religion. And if you look at both religion, they originated from the same Abrahamic line. It's just some few misunderstandings, but they all agreed that they originated from the same origin. And then if in the Quran, Moses is called Anabi Musa, Abraham is Anabi Ibrahim, and all of that. And then Ishmael is Ishmael. And so, but our politicians, they understand the game so well, and coupled with the fact that we have seen religion now as a tool for making the people. And so in every society, people must look up to leadership and governance. So in the absence of governance, in the absence of leadership, what our religious leaders did was to bring, God as a leader. Here is God. Once you look up to God, give all you have to me, who will receive on his behalf. And these basic things that government was supposed to give you through governance, God will give them. Like safety, like food, shelter, house, and all of that. That you have been praying for. I decree that it will be yours in the next 10 days. And you say, I receive it by faith.
But how hard, why has it been so hard for the Nigerian people to see that corrupt leaders cut across religious divide?
Yeah, because it's been difficult because of our level of illiteracy.
And good leadership also cut across
it's been difficult
divide.
because of our level of illiteracy, like I was just explaining to you. And so you see us now trooping to churches to receive these blessings and these things, basic necessities of life that government ordinarily should provide. And so when you are privileged to get them, as a result of your hard work, or maybe as a result of luck, you quickly relate it to that God that your pastor or your imam told you that will provide these things. And so when they tell you, look, you should not look at that man because he's not of the same faith, you will easily believe him because you believe all of those stories he's been telling you, that it is because of those things that you got whatever you got. Forgetting also that this man had been hoodwinking you and deceiving you, because everything you have, you're given. I tell people, it's a law of natural justice. Once you give, you must get. Once you give, you must get. And that's why, and then also I tell people, you say, God shall destroy the wicked. Yes, we agree. But you still see some wicked people who God gives opportunity to repent and change. And then the righteous one also dies, the same way wicked people die. So nobody will live forever. So the basic moral tenets, once you imbibe them, and then you educate the people on their civic responsibility, and then government also lives to its billing, you won't have all of these deceits. Because quickly, if you travel to countries where government provide the basic necessities, there's nothing for you now to begin to hoodwink the people. A government will give you, God will give you that house, God will give you that husband, God will give you that job, because there are jobs.
You're saying that underdevelopment probably might be the reason why we're so superstitious about.
Yes. If you have development and there are jobs and there are the basic necessities of life, I call them necessities. They are not luxuries. Only here you see cars as luxury. They are basic necessities. You need to move from point A to point B. We are not in the Stone Age where you need to trek from here to Onitsha. You will need to get a vehicle. And in places where there are trains and there are mass transit, you can enter a train and see a member of parliament there or a senator. So why would you see the man as, a teen god? But here, because the moment they are voted into office, they've been removed from the ordinary to the supernatural. So people begin to see them like that. And then the moment that pastor collects all your money, is removed from the ordinary to the supernatural. Even if he tells you it's the Holy Spirit. And so you cannot question the Holy Spirit.
It's all right.
And so Holy Spirit says, vote for this man. Okay. Whether he's bad or not, simply because of the same religion. So
let me open the phone line so that we can also take calls from our viewers on the show this morning. When you call in, please turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can have a crystal clear communication. Our last point of call on the dailies this morning is the Guardian newspaper. Troops destroy Boko Haram camps in Sambisa Forest, retake Goza, Dikwa. Jonathan commissions 4 new warships in Lagos.
Quickly, I hope those warships are not the ones acquired by Tom Polo.
Oh, come on, don't go there. Well, the front page picture shows President Goodluck Jonathan in group photograph with the Yoruba Council of Elders in Lagos yesterday. New approach to blocking HIV raises hopes for AIDS vaccine. And veterinarians alert as broad flu hits 17 states. Want animal disease control law reviewed. Canvass compensation for affected farmers. No report of the ailment in humans yet. There won't be any interim government, says Abdul Salami. That's on page 3. And then this one says it's 312 days after the abduction of the Chibok girls. Now, let me quickly take you back to some other stories that we've been following in the course of the week. The dramatic exit of the former President Olusegun Obasanjo from the PDP. Many have said that probably Baba has left PDP a long time ago. But the twist to it now is that unlike the position of someone like Ekiti State Governor and Femi Fani-Kayode, there are other people who are of the opinion that the PDP might have to woo him back into the fold. For instance, a paper recorded that Lamido Muazu met the former president over this issue. What are your thoughts along this line?
It's difficult to woo Baba Obasanjo back to PDP now because he had given conditions, he had spoken, according to him, through his body language, and it's difficult. It's almost an impossibility now. But that does not mean that it won't happen in the future, because from his statement, he had problem not with the current administration, but with the fact that there is a Buruji Kashamu, which he himself brought into PDP in Ogun State. That Buruji Kashamu is a leader in PDP in Southwest, and so him being a member of one of the Council Against Narcotics, he would not want to associate with persons like that. And so also, if you know Obasanjo, this is not his first time of doing this. Every government, apart from his government, he had criticized, he had written letters, but unfortunately, this is the same person. He refused to accept these same letters that are written to him. And issues he raised in those letters are issues that are germane and are public knowledge. And so, for some persons coming from Obasanjo, that's the first time they would believe because it's coming from Obasanjo. But for me, these are issues we have consistently discussed. You and I know that these are issues we have raised, apart from a few which are yet to be verified. Many of them are issues we have consistently discussed, even during Obasanjo's administration. It's just unfortunate that we're in the kind of country we are. If we were in saner countries, most of these people, including the president, the current president and his wife, including Obasanjo, will be in jail by now.
You know, probably the position of some Nigerians will be that, given the experience that the former president had in office while he was leading, that does he have the right,
the moral
or the integrity, the moral justification to make all of these accusations at this time?
He has every right. He's a free man by virtue of the kind of society we are in. So he has every right to make any comment he wants to make, just like you and I have rights to pass and make any comment. But basically what we are saying, and what those people are saying rather, is that, look, Obasanjo, these issues were with us, and then you became president. God gave you this on a platter of gold, and people expected you to do something differently. But you were worse off, if not on the same platform that you are now calling, you know, black. And we expected you to do it differently. There was no name you didn't call critics then. And so that's what moral platform now do you have to stand and begin to talk about this thing and sermonize? Others have said, look, well, even if it doesn't have, it's not enough to just keep quiet. And I say, look, Obasanjo is not talking because he loved Nigerians. He's talking because of what he would derive from all of this talk. And if you remember the photograph, the clips you just showed, when the APC leaders went to meet with him to help navigate them to power, he wants to be part of those that navigated them to power. He knows Nigerians will listen to all of this criticism in spite of the fact that they had been in the public domain. The same way Obasanjo refused to listen to us in 2007, that look, it's Umaru and it must be Umaru. It's Goodluck Jonathan, it must be Goodluck Jonathan. And now the same man, we knew that he was not competent, because I had asked the question, Goodluck Jonathan as a deputy governor, what were his track record? As a governor, what was his track record? It was Obasanjo that imposed him as governor, if you remember. We all still remember the stories. And then even as vice president, we knew the array of PDP former governors that, you know, lined up to contest the primaries. But how Obasanjo, you know, muzzled his way and had his way. And eventually, he became the president. Immediately, Yar'Adua came and started demolishing all Obasanjo had done. He took offense.
You know, I think
and started condemning Yar'Adua then. And then even when, after the man, he said the man should do the honorable thing by resigning when he's ill. Meanwhile, this was the same Obasanjo. When he was told that Yar'Adua was ill, he said no, that the man just went for, he was cold. He had cold and he had to be flown to Germany. Umaru, are you dead? You know, so for me, this is clownish. Here, people like this, we should tell them, please, leave us. The solution to our problems lies in us. And we will do that at the poll, not with what you have said. Let us, leave us. We want to find solution to a new Nigeria, which we don't want you to be part of. Because you had opportunity to do it, to set this nation on a good footing. And what did you do? You blew it. You created passive enemies and you were chasing them all around. And then all of a sudden it dawned on you that 8 years was too small. You wanted an extension. And since you couldn't get it, you imposed these same people on us that you are now condemning today. You now want to be a modern day Democrat all of a sudden, born again. It's Nigerians should wake up. It's just that when you talk, people will say, oh, maybe you are supporting the current government. That is why you... I will not listen to a man like Obasanjo. I won't take him seriously. I won't take him seriously. Like I said, if we were in Senate clan, most of these people in Senate, including the president, including some of these governors, including Obasanjo and some past leaders, by now will be cooling off in jail.
That's all right. Barrister OSHOMA, thank you very much for finding time to join us today on Call Digest. We hope that you also join us subsequently on the show.
Always, my pleasure, anytime.
We'll take a short break now and we'll be back with more. Stay with us, don't go away.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on Core TV News.